because this entire system isn't designed to actually, it's not designed to actually help us be prosperous. It's designed to help the wealthy get wealthier, and then everybody else loses.
And so you leave school and you're in this world where everything is getting more and more expensive and you don't really know why. And when you ask, it's just like, oh, that's just inflation. Like, that's just what happens. Things go up, prices just go up.
Anybody who owns houses can go to the bank and get a free loan, while somebody who doesn't own a house can't go to a bank and get a free loan, like a 3, 4, 5% loan.
Hey guys, what's going on? Today we have a very special guest. We've got Rajat coming on to the show. I've been listening to you for quite a while, so I'm super keen to have this conversation. And yeah, I love some of your insights and concepts on Bitcoin. Welcome to the show, bro. How you going?
Thank you so much for having me. I feel great. Things are going well. Bitcoin crashed from 112K to 104K. People are panicking. It's great.
Yeah, no, at this point, I'm very relaxed when dumps come. It's just like extra satoshis, and I'm not too stressed. But I love seeing what people post on Twitter and just the absolute chaos of the world. So
Yeah. Same
now we'll
here.
see what happens with the price, and we'll be buying regardless. So
That's it.
I love your insight with trying to compare the US dollar, or in my case, Aussie dollars, against Bitcoin as a superior store of value. Can you sort of go into why Bitcoin is a superior store of value against, say, the US dollar?
Yeah, for sure. So with the US dollar, it can be created at will. So there's no limit to how many dollars can be created. So no matter what happens, anything that you're buying, there's going to be more dollars chasing it over time. So let's say even something like apples, something that you can produce out of nothing. You can make as many of them as you want to, but even they take more effort, time, energy to create than US dollars, which is just crazy. Because all you have to do is you plant a tree in the ground and they keep growing year after year after year. And but then even in that case, even though they keep growing year after year after year, the cost is increasing, which is crazy to me because I'm in Canada, so the Canadian dollar, the US dollar, the Australian dollar, all of these, they're all trash. They're all being printed at will. They're all being used to steal our wealth. They're all being used to steal part of what we can consume. So let's say, for example, if you could buy an apple for $1 today, and then 2 years, 3 years from now, the apple costs $2, it means that whoever printed that money basically stole half an apple from you. So over time, that's just going to get worse. It's going to go from $1 to $2 to $3 to $5, and it's going to accelerate over time because more and more money is going to have to be printed in order to solve the problems that governments create. So they're going to keep printing more and more, and then over time, it'll take more money to solve the same problem. So to do the exact same thing, it'll cost, instead of $1 today, it'll cost $2 in the future. Just like the price of the apple goes up. So it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy where governments, um, they they print money because they want to spend money on things, and then they print more because the money that they printed flooded the economy and it pumped the price of everything up. So the raw materials of everything went up and the cost of labor went up. And then the next time they have to print even more in order to get the exact same thing done. So it just keeps going and going. It's a cycle that'll keep going, and there's no way to get out of it.
Yeah, I recently had a friend that was said the only reason Bitcoin has value is because everyone believes in it. And it's like, well, that's the exact same with dollars. Like, if you believe these pieces of paper have value, then yeah, I guess you could make a transaction because the person you're transacting with believes the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, what you're believing in, though, has no cap on supply. It's just unlimited. And so, therefore, your belief is weaker than mine.
Yeah.
Like, my belief that Bitcoin has value is stronger than yours because it has a cap supply. What do you think that the 21 million cap is one of the biggest aspects of Bitcoin, or do you think this is just one of the big ones, or is it the main one?
I would say it's the most important one, just because I wouldn't buy Bitcoin if there was no 21 million cap. Would you?
No
Right?
chance.
Like if Bitcoin could keep inflating and inflating, I wouldn't buy. What's the reason to buy Bitcoin? And people are actually saying, like, what's the guy's name? Peter Todd. He was saying that we need tail emission, we need something called a demurrage. I don't know how to pronounce it, but basically like a almost like a property tax for people holding Bitcoin. It's crazy how much people want to change it because they don't like how it works. They don't like the finite supply. They want governments to be able to print money to get out of terrible financial situations that they are the ones who create. So they want the theft. They want to continue having more and more money come to the market, but it doesn't work that way. Over time with Bitcoin, we're going to see that the price of everything is going to continue to decrease because the supply is not only going to the new supply coming to the market is not only going to decelerate the rate at which it comes to the market, it's going to decelerate, but we're also going to see that people are going to steal they're going to lose some coins, they're going to lose their private keys, and those coins are never going to come back to the market. So over time the price of everything has to decrease because there's a smaller and smaller pool of Bitcoin that can be used to spend on goods and services. So let's say houses. We have houses in the US that cost like 3.8 Bitcoin today. At some point they'll cost zero point 0.3 Bitcoin. That's the median house in the US. Eventually it'll cost under 1 Bitcoin, then it'll cost under zero point 0.5 Bitcoin, 0.38 Bitcoin. That's a 90% drop. It'll keep decreasing because more houses can be built, more living spaces can be built, but more Bitcoin can't be created and added to the economy. So like your friend there, he was saying, okay, we just believe in it. What's the US dollar? We believe in it. We believe that it'll have value tomorrow. That's why we save in it. What's the Australian dollar, the Canadian dollar? The only reason why they have value is because we think that they'll have value tomorrow, so we want to own them.
Yeah, I think a lot of Bitcoiners they found Bitcoin because they understood what went wrong with money. So we never learnt through school or anything how money functions, how printing functions, anything about the Federal Reserve, anything like that. The difference between CPI against just monetary inflation, which is to me the true inflation rate. And so you leave school and you're in this world where everything is getting more and more expensive and you don't really know why. And when you ask, it's just like, oh, that's just inflation. Like, that's just what happens. Things go up, prices just go up. Like, there's no actual explanation. Oh, well, houses are a really good investment. Like, this is a really good investment. They obviously outperforming groceries and other things. But the very same people that want their house to go up want groceries to stay down. But you can't have both.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do both. And so, can you sort of go into this idea of, how come everything has to go up and why do houses outperform things like apples or eggs or something else that's not as strong?
Yeah, so the price of everything has to go up because we have loans on everything. So you can borrow money to buy whatever you want to, and then you have to pay back the loan plus the interest. So you have to create more money in order to pay back that loan. So let's say you have a business where you borrowed money and you had to pay for raw materials or whatever. Now you have to pay back interest plus the loan. So you have to find a way to make more money than the amount of money that you borrowed. And one of the only ways to do that is to add more money to the system because eventually there's not going to be enough money to pay for the things that we need. The price of things should be coming down because we were talking about Jeff Booth before, because of technological progress, because of the fact that things get better over time. Like that water bottle that you're drinking, people have spent how long coming to that point where you can actually drink water from a water bottle, even creating bottles, like that process probably took hundreds of years to really perfect. Not the specific process of making the bottle, but all of the producing all the raw materials, making it look a certain way. All of that took time, effort, energy. So over time, because we get better at producing things, the price should be decreasing because we spend less time making them. We have to spend less resources. I see bottles that say, oh, 30% less plastic. So why is it that they're the same price as a bottle that uses the same amount of plastic? That makes no sense, right? It should be cheaper because less raw materials are going into producing that bottle. So over time, the price should be decreasing. But because we have this credit system where we have to pay interest no matter what, we have to have more and more money added to the system in order to make it operate. If more money wasn't added to the system, the banking system would collapse. It would just fall apart because people wouldn't be able to pay back their loans. And then your last question there: why are houses a better savings vehicle than food? It's because houses can't. Houses have it takes longer to produce a house than it takes to produce an apple. Like you can scale up the production of apples. You over time, I think you'll be able to scale up the production of houses. Let's say, for example, we'll have 3D printed homes, we'll have prefabricated homes. It'll scale up the production, but right now that's not the case. So houses are being created at a slower rate than than apples. Houses are more durable than apples. Apples any kind of food, it all spoils, but Bitcoin, but houses don't, right? So houses are durable. They last years. They last decades. Some houses last centuries, and you don't need to keep creating more and more. So houses, they're more durable. They're easier to use as a store of value. So people actually use them as a store of value. You can't really use food as a store of value because, like I said, it spoils. If you put food in your safe, it's gonna spoil by the time you need to use it as money. So houses are better than food. They appreciate more than food because they last long. They have utility. People can use them forever. Like the house that you have, for example, when you're living in, somebody can come in, move in there after you, and then um, they can fulfill their need for housing. So the person who owns that house, they can literally harvest the time value of that house forever. So more and more people are looking at housing now as a business because they can buy the house, they can rent it to someone basically hassle free. There's no hassle for them. They have the house, it's already made. They didn't have to make anything. They buy it, they take it out of the market, and then they rent it to someone else. So because of that, more and more people are buying houses. People aren't buying food as a store of value because it doesn't really make any sense. Like I said, it spoils. But housing, you can use that as a store of value forever because the building very likely just won't fall apart for years or decades.
Yeah, I think I love this idea that on your YouTube channel, you talk about how houses were never meant to be this investment, this leverage game, this, how many houses can I get to? It was meant
Yeah.
to just be for utility, a shelter over your head. But now, because our dollars are so weak, so much is getting printed, it has to flood somewhere.
Yeah.
Where is it going to flood? Well, it's not going to flood into apples, but it's going to flood into something that's going to be a good store of value over time. But then, would you agree that there's this huge housing shortage over the Western culture? Or do you think it's not a matter of not enough houses, but the houses cost too much?
I don't think it's a shortage. So I was looking at some numbers. I mentioned this in one of my videos. 10% of the houses in the US are unoccupied. So if anything, um, they could be I know some of them are probably they're not in the greatest condition, so people they're not livable. But the people who own them, they don't sell them because they use them for financing. Housing has become a monetized asset. It's become a financial good. So what people do is they own these houses or they own just land with nothing on it, and then they can go to the bank and they can borrow money against it. I think that's the problem. I don't think that the problem is that we don't have enough houses. I think that a small group of people own way more houses than they need. I think I was looking at something related to Bill Gates. He owns like 200,000 acres of farmland, which is insane. What does he need that much farmland for? Right? He's using it very likely to diversify his portfolio because he's a billionaire. He needs way more land. He may also be using it to uh, do other weird stuff that he's probably doing. I don't know, maybe creating more factories to create fake food, right? But he doesn't need that much land. I don't think we have a shortage of land. I don't think we have a shortage of housing. It's just that the people who have money are extremely selfish and they keep buying more and more. Like you have people who have hundreds of properties, you have people who have thousands of properties. But it's not because they're bad people. It's not actually I shouldn't say it's they're selfish. They're not. It's just how the system works. It's designed to work that way. Anybody who owns houses can go to the bank and get a free loan, while somebody who doesn't own a house can't go to a bank and get a free loan like a 3, 4, 5% loan. Even in Australia, same thing. Do you know what the interest rates in Australia are?
Oh, I mean, interest rates, if you own a house as collateral, you can get them down so low. But if you
Yeah.
don't have that house as collateral, it's insane. Like trying to get a house when you don't already have one and you're just on like a low or medium income, It's just crazy right now.
Impossible.
Like it's people are staying with their parents till 25, even late 20s now, where it used to be common to have a house by 20, 21, 22. And so if you're not already in the fiat game and with the houses taking advantage of that system, then you're just going to get left behind. So it encourages more and more people to feed the machine. And so if you choose not to and just go, I'm just going to get one house, for my family and whatever, you're going to be left behind. And
Yeah.
so it's really sad because so many people are just renting or having to share a house or having to stay with their parents longer and longer. And yeah, it's just I don't think it was always like that. And I think watching the house pricing go up, even though some of these houses are 20 or 25 years old, so they've actually deteriorated in quality and haven't improved in any sense, but their value has tripled in 20 years, makes no sense. And I don't think it is a shortage of houses. I see so many vacant blocks. I see so many units constantly being built and no one's feeling them because no one can afford them. Um, and I think the quality has decreased. It's absolute insanity. A house built 20, 25 years ago, I'd probably say even before that, 30 or 40. My parents live in a very old house built in the 80s, was built with quality bricks, quality foundation, built to last potentially 50 to 100 years, sometimes even more. And now the ones I see, they literally built like styrofoam. It's called render. Styrofoam painted over, and then maybe a bricks for like a percentage of the house, trying to bump the foundation. And they can pump these houses out at a low cost, or they can pump these huge units out and chuck, they buy one block, but they fit 8 units on. And so it's built with absolute crap. It's not built to last. It's built to make a quick buck, but they're charging a ridiculous amount to own. So I just think you can't argue, oh, well, houses have improved in quality, hence the price, or there's a shortage of houses. I think it is just dollars have to flood somewhere. And if they're not flooding to the best thing in the world, Bitcoin, then they have to flood into these crappy versions of that. And so
Oh yeah. Wow.
crappy stores of value in my eyes, which is housing and stocks, gold, other things. They're all money vacuums, but I think Bitcoin obviously will eventually be the biggest money vacuum. And I think we're seeing that play out this last 16 years. What are your thoughts on that quality side of housing, quality of food? Do you think Bitcoin can maybe turn the ship around, or do you think maybe it's too late? Where do you think Bitcoin plays into the standard of food, housing, clothing, all sorts of things?
I completely agree with you. Over time, the quality of things has decreased, and it's going to continue to decrease because that's just how it is. The companies that are producing those things need to make a profit. So what they have to do is they have to use lower and lower quality materials in order to produce whatever they're producing. In order to retain that profit, they need to make sure that the shareholders are happy, right? And over time, we're seeing, like you mentioned, food. People can't really wrap their head around how Bitcoin changes our food. Whenever I talk about that, they get so confused. But you nailed it there. The quality is decreasing because um, shareholders need to make their profits. The only way for these companies to maintain profits for shareholders is to either decrease the input costs, which they're doing. There's this really great phrase that I learned in accounting: garbage in, garbage out. So basically, when you put in crappy materials, you get back garbage, right? Same thing with the housing market. You put in crappy materials, you get back a garbage house. You put in crappy uh, fertilizers, you get back crappy food. I don't know what the raw materials there would be, but the soil, if the soil quality is low, if there's different kinds of pesticides that are basically designed to reduce spoilage, but then they're killing us. Right, they're giving us diseases and they're giving us problems that we never had before. So over time, because shareholder profits need to be maintained, because this entire system isn't designed to actually it's not designed to actually help us be prosperous. It's designed to help the wealthy get wealthier, and then everybody else loses. So you have the top 10% of people who own houses, who own prime real estate, who own stocks, who own all these assets, they keep getting wealthier while everybody else gets poorer and poorer. And then the people who are in newer generation, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 21.
21. Okay. So I'm 32. So your generation is I'm a millennial, you're a Gen Z. Your generation is even more screwed than my generation. I used to think my generation was
Yeah, boy.
I thought my generation was like really in a bad situation, but man, your generation is even worse off because the system is literally designed to get worse and worse over time. The people who let's say for
But
example,
then Bitcoin comes in.
and then
Don't
Bitcoin
forget that.
exactly. That's one of the good things though. The younger generations will probably understand Bitcoin at a much deeper level than anybody who's, let's say, Gen X or like Warren Buffett. I was watching a video of Warren Buffett saying how Bitcoin doesn't produce anything, so it's not worth anything. He's not going to get it. He's probably going to die before he can admit that he was wrong. But your generation, you probably have more Bitcoin than like the 90-year-olds who have millions of dollars worth of assets and they have no Bitcoin. Eventually, either they're going to pass away or they're going to figure it out and they're going to want as much Bitcoin as they can get. And that's when they're going to be fighting you to get your Bitcoin from you. That's when they're going to, because they have the real estate and you want real estate, they're going to do whatever they can to give you the things that you want in order to get your Bitcoin because Bitcoin can't be created out of nothing. So over time, um, we're going to see a race to the bottom. We're going to see a race to the bottom for the price of housing. We're going to see a race to the bottom for the price of stocks. We're going to see a race to the bottom for the price of gold. Everything is going to decrease in terms of Bitcoin. It's going to trend to zero. It's not going to go to zero, but let's say a house, for example, at some point, 50, 60, 70 years from now, a house will cost a million Satoshis. I genuinely believe that's going to be the case. Most people can't wrap their heads around that, but I think that's going to happen. So a million satoshis is 0.01 Bitcoin. A Bitcoin can be split into 100 million satoshis. So like it's almost like dollars and cents. So for your audience, anybody who doesn't know this, but one house will, like I said, it'll eventually go to 10 million sats, then it'll go to a million sats, it'll go to 100,000 sats. It'll keep decreasing because there's no limit to the amount of houses that can be produced. So over time, less and less Bitcoin will chase an increasing number of housing, but more and more dollars will chase that same number of housing. So in terms of dollars, the price will go up. In terms of Bitcoin, it'll continue to fall forever.
Yeah, I think when people say it's not possible, I'm just like, it's at this point with the acceleration of Bitcoin, it's basic math. It's just a matter of time
Yeah.
because 21 million capped. How many houses are in the world? Like, let's say it's hundreds of millions, potentially even
There's
billions
there's
at this point.
2.4 billion houses in the world.
Well, that's insanity. That's like one for every four people, basically,
Yeah.
but only 21 million Bitcoin. So imagine in a world where every man and his dog wants Bitcoin, people no longer care that much about owning 10 houses, 100 houses per person. They just want one or two or three max.
Yeah.
And they all want the Bitcoin. And that's scarce. It's absolute scarcity. I just think we're going to see a rapid decline of houses, just like boom, like worse than 2008, worse than in the 90s. We're going to see it go cheap, cheap, cheap. Like houses would just be like, take my house. Like, I just want Bitcoin. Like swap. Let's do a swap. And if that's not nice, scarce land, and it's just a crappy block that's got no backyard built out of styrofoam, like I was talking about, you're not going to get the deal. So what does that do? Drop its price even further.
Yeah.
Now there might be some dumb people that are still trading around with pieces of paper, hoping it's worth something. But if you can get in early and hold that scarce value and get as much as possible, what that's going to be worth in the future, you can't price it in fiat dollars because that might not even be around anymore. That might literally be deleted at this point. It will go back to some like in a stone age in digital sense where people will literally be trading on the street. Take my keys to my house, take my keys to my car, take my, land out in the bush. Please give me some of that Bitcoin because I need it to trade goods and services. I need it for my business. I need it for this. I need it for
For
that.
food.
That's coming. Like
Yeah.
you can't continue to send prices through the roof and wages are not keeping up. It will get to the point of a snap where people literally cannot live anymore. And so there's this wealth gap that used to be like this middle class, this bottom class, and then top tier. Suddenly that middle class eliminated. It's just everyone going towards the low tier, and elites are just disappearing with their assets. They're just like, see you later. If you're not holding assets, you are cooked. But then what me and Rajat here are saying now, even those people buying assets are going to fall behind into the middle class and then back to the lower class eventually as well. Everyone will have to end up at the bottom unless you're adopting Bitcoin. Bitcoin will be the new elite standard, and that's purely just based off scarcity. So, investing in stocks, investing in real estate, investing in gold, none of these things have true scarcity, and therefore Bitcoin will have to eat everything, basically. Everyone will want it. Everything will be up for trade. Everything will be trending to zero. And Bitcoin's price, if it's continued to be priced in fiat, you could imagine $100 million Bitcoin. And it is possible through math. So
Yeah.
it's not actually that crazy. Like if this plays out as it's playing, something significantly would have to change, like world ending type stuff, which at that point you can't really control. If the world continues for the next 100 years, Bitcoin will reach 100 million. So, yeah, it's
It's
nuts.
wild to me that you get this as a 21-year-old, but people who have so much experience throughout their life, they're just not getting it. I think it's because because you need to know this and they don't, because their lives are just okay. They don't need to worry about paying for the staples. They don't need to worry about paying for food. They don't need to worry about paying for a car because they already have it. So to them, the world is working perfectly fine. I actually got a comment from someone who he said, I'm in my 60s. The world has been working perfectly fine for me. Let's just keep it going the way it is. Why complicate things when you don't need to? Of course it's working for you because you grew up in a time where you could buy a house for like 3 blueberries, right? And
Yeah, literally.
now you can borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars against that house. So of course you're happy, right? But the people
Mm.
who can't do that, the people who don't have that house, who now have to pay $1 million for the same house, of course they're not happy because they're not making that much money. Like making way less than they need. They're literally trapped in debt for the rest of their lives, and you're okay with the system. It doesn't really make any sense to me.
I'll share both perspectives. So let's play devil's advocate for the older generation. There are still older people. So there's people like that see no problem with the um, current system. They've benefited from it. They've got to that point. But there's also people now that are even recognizing with the retirement fund that they've put away, they're going, holy moly, like you can make a choice to top up your amount of retirement fund and you go, oh, maybe I can allocate not just 5%, maybe 10% of my wage or whatever it may be. I don't think the numbers are that high. And then by the time they've received it, it's worth significantly less. And so they might see that and go, I used to think that retirement, if I just got to 500K, that was enough to retire. It's now looking like 1.7 million, and I don't have 1.7 million, and I'm going into my 60s. And it just causes this dreadful panic of realization like, I've been scammed here. Thinking if I just top up my retirement fund, it's money I can't touch, it's good for my future. They get to their future, they've arrived, hoping, all right, this is it, boys. Let's go live it up in retirement. Oh, it's not worth jack all. And you're not allowed to withdraw it all at once. And if you do, you're taxed like 50%. Like you have to leak it out very slowly. And it's all very deliberate because they want to dilute those dollars as quick as possible before you can receive them. Because imagine they had all the boomers click one button, withdraw 4 million, 5 million, 6 million. Suddenly there's all these rich mother hubbers and they would not be able to handle that.
Yeah.
They would not be able to handle every man and his dog that saved up, did the right thing, invested the right way, all got the benefits and became the elites. They could not handle that. So they have to dilute these dollars. They have to print faster than you can withdraw from your bank, or else you do become rich and you have outperformed them or beaten the system. They want you locked in the system. So, like, my dad was telling me because he's getting into the 60s. And he said, oh, so I worked out that it's going to be better if I only withdraw a few thousand here and there each month to save me on tax. And I'm just like, bro, like you've locked that up for that long. How are you not allowed to just withdraw it all at once and go bam?
Yeah.
And I understand there's the argument like, oh, well, they're trying to discourage people just going and spending it like free money. Like, you got to try and be strategic with it. I'm like, you're in your 60s, bro. Like, you don't have that much time to go strategically plan it out. You've done your investing, you've done your saving, you've done the hard yards. Now it's time for the reward. But they just go, no, we're going to dilute it as much as possible. We're going to make sure you leak it out slowly. And I just think that's the biggest scam. So I think The reason that now, as a 21-year-old at the opposite scale, I've gone into a world where I'm watching things like the other day I went to go buy eggs, a dozen of eggs, $9
Wow.
for a dozen of eggs. And then I look at cereal made of absolute chemicals and crap, still cheap. And I went, so if I want to eat well, it's going to cost me like 3 or 4 times more. Like if I go to get milk, if I go to get bacon, eggs, steak, 3 to 4 times more than if I had just consumed poison. There's obviously something going on here. And so the only reason they can keep that crappy food down is because it would probably cost 1 cent to make per box because it's just absolute crap. There's no proof of work in that
Yeah,
sense.
and you can
And
scale up the production of the crappy foods, right? Like you can set up machines that produce them. You can't do that with eggs. You can't. Well, you can. They still do it
you
with
can do
eggs,
it to a
but
degree, but
you
not to
can't do it the
that
way that you can
degree.
do it with like the cereal, right? The cereal, it's literally it's garbage. It's wood pulp. It's like wood shavings. It's crazy. It's just garbage. Like the material is so bad, and it's killing us. But that's what we need to do to make sure that the shareholders earn a profit. Like if you want to get steak, like if you want to get steak, eventually you're not going to be able to get real steak. You're going to have to get 3D printed steaks because that's just where the world is going. You're going to have to get like insect flour pasta. You're going to have to get all this nasty garbage because that's all you're going to be able to afford. Like if you think about it, all okay, so people are on a fixed salary and they're barely making ends meet. And then in the middle of the year when they didn't get a raise, the cost of the things that they wanted to pay for has increased by, let's say, 20-30%. How are they going to make up for that difference? They can't. They just have to downgrade what they eat. They have to cut out on vacations. They have to cut out on the higher quality foods. And that's what happens when you don't save in Bitcoin. If you save in fiat, which is the majority of people on earth, the majority of people are saving in fiat. So when you save in fiat, you have to downgrade your quality of life. You're forced to. Because if you don't, on a fiat standard, not everybody can be wealthy because there's no such thing as abundance. I was looking at the hierarchy of needs, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and because of fiat, we haven't even gotten to the shelter part of it yet, which is just sad. We've come so far as a society. We have literal computers in our pockets. We can do whatever we want to. We can use AI, but at the same time, we haven't even met the basic needs of humans, which is just sad.
Let's imagine like 50 years ago or even 100 years ago, and you told them how far we had advanced AI technology, production, even food production, all this, I like to use like an apple orchard example. You used to have like, say, hundreds of employees hand picking apples. Now I've got to the stage, there's 5 tractors doing thousands of employees' work in one day.
Yeah.
But apples are still this much per kilo. And so even though we've advanced in all aspects, efficiency and effectiveness of productivity, we are still struggling to get a roof over our head and some decent food in our bodies. And it's like, how is that not a problem? Like if you told someone from 50 or 100 years ago how far we've come as a society, but there's more poverty than there was 50 years ago, they would just be in disbelief. They would say, how do you not afford bacon and eggs each morning? Like I have bacon and eggs every single morning. My wife is a stay-at-home mom full time, and we're still feeding, back then it was like 7 kids at a time.
Yeah.
And now it's like people with 2 kids. Oh, we're actually just not, we're not going to be, we have to do Captain Crunch today. We actually can't do bacon and eggs. It's like, oh my God. Like if you can't afford bacon and eggs, a basic necessity for a morning breakfast, you're cooked. Like, no
Yeah.
wonder everyone's so sick. Like, society is so physically sick now. And also, young people going into the real life and now next to no hope for the future in terms of they see retirement age. It used to be 60, it's now 65, and Australia just bumped it to 67. Some countries have now bumped it to 70. It's like, what motivation do you have? And so then you lose motivation. So you go, I might as well just borrow as much debt as possible, live out all my wildest dreams while I can. and then who cares? I'm not going to even bother trying to pay it back. So you're buying with nothing to, you're dying to with nothing to your name because your whole life was borrowed,
Yeah.
and it had no proof of work. You did no effort. It was purely because you understood there was no hope for the future. So let's just bring the future to now, and let's just enjoy the future to now. There's such a short term uh, view on the world to just consume, 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 because there is no chance for a future anyway. So this culture is so sick. Like, it's just so sad to listen to my friends just go, man, I'm in the rat race. Like, I still can't get a house. I've been grinding. I finished my 4 year apprenticeship to be a full time carpenter, blah, blah, blah. Like, when does life turn around for me? And I'm just thinking, you could continue doing your work right now, but save in Bitcoin, and you could already have improved your life 10x. Like, it's such, it's kind of sad. It's like people sitting in a jail cell, yelling and screaming at the person that put them in jail, but the door's wide open and the door leads straight to Bitcoin. And it's
Yeah.
like, we actually have a solution now. I understand complaining. I understand the frustration. You have no hope, but there actually is a solution. There used to not be, over 16 years ago, there was no solution. You did your best with stocks and gold. You did your best with this and that. You don't have to invest anymore. You just have to save in Bitcoin, trade those dollars for Bitcoin, and it will completely change your life. Everything around you will get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah.
And so,
And the quality of things is gonna get better. Like you're okay. So before, if I wanted to get a laptop, I would have probably thought, oh, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait until I can get one for a discount, or I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna get a lower quality one because that's it saves me money. I don't have too much fiat, so I only have a fixed amount of fiat. If I'm gonna buy a laptop, I need to make sure that I account for it in my income and all that stuff. But now I realize that the fiat price is basically just I don't know if this is the right way to say it, but it's almost like a distraction, right? Like you get the lower quality thing, then you get the higher quality thing. It's like they're trying to price you out of buying the higher quality thing, so they have the lower quality thing, which has it's going to last you less. It's going to cost you more over the long term, but in the short term, it's giving you that lower price. It has that lower price tag. So even if you have like let's say meat, for example, I know a lot of governments, the World Economic Forum, they're trying to get people to not eat meat as much. So I think they can't force people to not eat meat. They're just trying to price them out of it. They're trying to make it so that the average person can't afford meat. Like who can afford a $40 steak? Who can afford like even something like chicken thighs? I went to Costco a few days ago. Maybe this is low in on your standard, but it was like 14.99 a pound in Canadian dollars. Before you could buy the same chicken thighs for like $8 a pound, right? So the people who haven't increased their income by 100%, they can no longer buy chicken thighs. Now they have to buy tofu or they have to buy some other garbage that has way less nutrition, that has that doesn't taste as good, right? And it's a downgrade in their life. It gives them less enjoyment. It gives them less things to look forward to in the future. Like at the end of the day, there's a limit to the amount of food that we can buy. We're not going to just keep buying more and more food. The people who have, let's say, billions of dollars, they can go buy as much food as they want to. They can buy lobster, they can buy steak, they can buy yachts because they have so much money. But then the other side of things is that there are people at the bottom who are the ones who actually got these companies, the billionaires are running. The people at the bottom got these companies to where they are, and now they're struggling to live, while the people at the top are living their lives. Uh, they're living their lives to the max. They're doing whatever they can. They're achieving their wildest dreams on the backs of people who did all the work, and the people at the top got to borrow money to pay them. So they paid them with something that can be created out of nothing, while the people at the bottom gave them something that they gave them their time, their energy, their effort, their resources, something that's finite in exchange for pieces of paper. That's why the world is so broken. Eventually, with a Bitcoin standard, that's going to completely change. But people have to actually demand it. It's not going to happen on its own. Like you hear Warren Buffett, or sorry, you hear Michael Saylor saying you never sell your Bitcoin. You never give away your Bitcoin. And I get what he's saying because the value of the Bitcoin is going to increase forever, but eventually people are going to have to demand Bitcoin for the work that they do, or they're going to have to earn whatever they can, and then they're going to have to exchange it for Bitcoin because otherwise they're going to keep getting more and more screwed over. The system is just going to get worse and worse for them.
Have you read that book, Fiat Food, before?
I haven't, but I have it, and I understand the ideas behind it. I listened to a lot of the podcasts that Matthew Lishik has been on. He was on the Bitcoin Standard podcast. It was great. So it's crazy how corrupted the system is.
Yeah, he goes through the whole history of how we've ended to this point of crappy food. And so he really breaks down how they basically scammed everyone to convince that red meat was really terrible for you. Whole foods were really terrible. You should be switching from butter to margarine. And it was literally just a scheme to hide inflation, have an excuse to print money, and actually hide how much they were printing. And then on top of that, there's whether you can say it's a conspiracy or a theory or not, but they really wanted to get people relying on the government through sickness. And so they were just flooding their systems through poison, basically, in these fiat foods. Whereas it really guides you back to, hey, you should just be eating whole foods. You should be focused on eating eggs for breakfast and bacon for breakfast. Stop just, shoving your mouth full of pasta, rice, all this stuff that really doesn't have nutrients and things that your body needs. It is just a filler. It just fills your stomach, keeps you convinced you're no longer hungry. But yeah, like if you can eat, if you can eat a steak, your body basically just sucks every bit of nutrients out of that steak, and it's left with basically nothing. Whereas if you eat this other stuff, like 90% of it is just passed through. And so yeah, he breaks that down really awesomely. I love that Fiat Food book. And yeah, it's just really eye opening where Bitcoin can come in, completely change the standard of food. And even though the system might continue on for quite some time, if you're saving in Bitcoin, then obviously food around you gets cheaper. So you can afford to go to your local butcher, get the proper food, get the proper nutrients you need, and yeah, completely change your life. On top of that, this is sort of switching back to how you can save in Bitcoin and life gets cheaper. I do this strategy now. Yeah, same thing. If I want to set aside a bit of money for something I want to buy, I wait for Bitcoin's price to appreciate, and that might take a few months, might take a few years, whatever. But whatever that appreciation has been, now whatever I wanted to buy has gotten that much cheaper. So if Bitcoin doubles, then obviously I've got 50% off an Amazon product or a car or tires or whatever it needs to be. And that's worked really well for me because it feels like things are getting cheaper. I spent $50 on Amazon the other day, but it was only like 20,000 or 30,000 sats, not just because our dollar's weaker, but because Australia has just, because Bitcoin's price has just gone up, 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 whereas those products have stayed relatively the same in that short period of time before the money printing has caught up to them. And so it's an awesome concept, saving in Bitcoin, things get cheaper. But you have a really good idea and concept that's now been shared around where you can set your own wage. Can you sort of explain how holding Bitcoin, you can set your own wage? Maybe it's the money you receive from your paycheck and you can decide buy Bitcoin and when to sell and how that can set your wage. Sort of explain that concept.
Yeah. So basically, whenever you get paid in whatever currency you get, let's say you get $30 an hour, you exchange that for Bitcoin. In the beginning, you might get like 30,000 satoshis, and if you're in the U.S., if you're in Canada, you'll get like 20,000 satoshis. But the input was an hour of work. What your consumption depends on is when you actually sell that Bitcoin, when you actually use it. So let's say you use it ten years from now, and that 30,000 satoshis. So right now, that 30,000 satoshis is worth 30 US dollars. In 10 years, for all we know, that 30,000 satoshis might be worth 300 US dollars, or 350, 400, 500 US dollars, 600 US dollars. Technically, what happened there is that your wage is now that price. That's how I like to think of it. So in the legacy financial system, of course, it's the same thing. You buy assets, but the issue is that they grow so much slower. So they'll grow at like 6% per year after inflation. With Bitcoin, it'll grow at 30, 40, 50% per year. So what that does is it increases the value of the time that you put in today. It gives you an incentive to put in time today. and it gives you an incentive to actually produce something today. So I think what that does is, first of all, it gives you a higher wage. You get to basically set your wage. So whenever you sell your Bitcoin, you get to sell it for whatever you want, whenever you want to sell it. And it means that your inputs have now been they've now received more value over time. The inputs that you created value, you produced more than you consumed, and then the excess production is now valued higher, which, I mean, it gives you an incentive to produce more, right? Because it tells you that, okay, I'm going to be rewarded for doing this. It tells you that if I delay gratification, then I'm going to be better off rather than consuming right away. So if you were to basically like what you said there, if you want to buy something on Amazon, you wait for Bitcoin's price to double. Whatever you're buying is, let's say Bitcoin's price doubles, goes up 100%, and then whatever you buy is has gone up maybe 5%. Technically, you've saved like maybe 48% of the value of the item, even accounting for that increase. While somebody who doesn't save in Bitcoin, let's say somebody who saves in fiat, they just save money in their bank account and then they pay off their credit card whenever they buy something. The cost of living for them has gone up. The value of their wage has decreased. So if you produce something in if you produce something in this economy and you save in dollars over time, your wage is decreasing. You don't have a choice. It's going to decrease no matter what. Actually, the longer that you wait, the more the wage is going to decrease, and you have less of an incentive to actually do something, because you know that if you save for the future, you have less of an incentive to think about the future. You have less of an incentive to delay gratification, because you know that if you wait, the value of your wage is going to decrease. So no matter how much you make today, over time, every single year, it's losing 5%, 10%, 5%, 10%. It's going to keep decreasing in value. On the other hand, with Bitcoin, it's going to keep increasing in value. Whatever you put in, whatever time you put in, let's say you put in an hour of work and you got $25 10 years ago. Now that $25 is worth, I don't know what the numbers are at, maybe like $400 or $500 or something like that. So over time, you can set your own wage. You can sell your Bitcoin whenever you want to, and you can use it to buy whatever you want. It just makes your life so much easier.
Yeah, I love what Michael Saylor said. He's like, picture like a 14, 15-year-old kid that's starting his first job at McDonald's. He's on $10 an hour, but he was putting it into Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes up 10x in, a few years, and then he decides to sell the Bitcoin. Well, then he wasn't on $10 an hour, he was on $100 an hour. And so imagine you're working at Macca's and you're on $100 an hour if you're saving in Bitcoin, because you're not going to sell until it at least does a 10x. Maybe you don't even sell, but that's your holdings. Well, then someone that is now working a very mediocre and boring job that's considered sort of not necessarily bottom of the barrel, but just a low paying minimum wage job is suddenly now in like an elite status of $100 an hour, which is crazy. Like that's far beyond the common man, far beyond that, even the middle range. And so it's really cool how, like, I have a very minimum wage type job currently, and I'm still more confident in my future and where things are heading than someone that's on, 50,000 or 100,000 more than me, purely because I know I'm saving in something that's going to outperform majority of wages, even if they're higher in fiat, because mine compounds over time. And so if I can continue to hold the Bitcoin I have now, which in my eyes, even though it might seem small to others, it feels significant to me, because I can envision a world where it's worth so much more than what fiat dollars can put on a price now. So I just know it's a time game. Like Bitcoin is just a ticking time bomb where eventually it's just going to be, well, it's already exploded, but just absolute parabolic. And watching my purchasing power just increase dramatically, even in the last 12 months of holding it and not selling it, not mixing it with other cryptos, just being BTC only, really changing my projection for the future. I think it's really opened my eyes to, oh man, I should have been doing this. Not that I'm very young, but I should have been doing this the moment I left school at my job. And I worked out how much I would have if I was dollar cost averaging $100 a week or whatever, $50 a week, working out at those prices. And it's coming up with hundreds of thousands of dollars in 3 or 4 years. And I'm just like, so all I had to do was save in Bitcoin and I would be, rich. And so it's just so funny, because it's not something like, oh, if you invested in 10 years ago, you'd be rich. It's like, if you invested in like 3 years ago, like you've like 3 or 4x your money. Like that's how fast 5x, 6x even. And so this thing moves quick. And so you don't want to wait for the next 6x or the next 10x. Like jump in now, like jump in, be prepared to hold it for a minimum of 4 years, but understand where this thing's headed. And it is just a matter of not where its price is going to go, but how long you can hold it. And so the longer you can hold, the more you'll reap. I know time's scarce, so I just wanted to get a few more questions off. Uh, do you think altcoins are just a distraction, a complete just distraction in one section? Do you think there's some useful altcoins, or do you think USDT has a play in this big picture? What are your thoughts on altcoins in general?
The way that I see it, they're not money. They don't compete with Bitcoin. They may have other use cases. Like, let's say some people say, I've heard some people say that, oh, Ethereum is decentralized internet. I don't even know what the hell that means, but I mean, it might have some value, let's say 10, 20 years from now, but I don't see it competing with Bitcoin. No matter what happens, nothing outperforms Bitcoin because over the long term, because Bitcoin solves the biggest problem we have as a society. And that problem is delaying gratification, putting money into or putting your resources and putting your resources into something that can help them appreciate into the future. That's the problem that we have. Saving. We don't have a way to save. In the past, like we could buy index funds, we could buy real estate, but all of those things are risky. They're not savings vehicles. Saving vehicles can have no volatility. They can have no uncertainty. On a Bitcoin standard, Bitcoin has no volatility. When you just look at one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin, if you look at your bank account today, the numbers in that bank account don't change if you just leave it there for, let's say, 10 years. Same thing with Bitcoin. The difference though is that Bitcoin is finite while your dollars are not. So if you have dollars in your bank account, no matter what happens, people are going to print more dollars and they're going to dilute what you have. So they're going to keep making the pot bigger and bigger until at some point what you've saved is worthless. It's worth nothing. On the other hand, with Bitcoin, with a Bitcoin standard, there's no surprises, right? So if you put let's say you put 0.01 Bitcoin in a wallet, you put a million satoshis in your wallet, and you wait. Let's say you wait 10 years. That 0.01 Bitcoin is still going to be there. The dollar value may be a surprise, but the dollar value is always going to be a surprise for no matter what you have, right? Even if you have houses, if you have stocks, the dollar value is always going to be a surprise. The point here is that there's no uncertainty with the amount that you have. Same thing with gold, right? If you buy an ounce of gold and you just put it in your sock drawer and you check for it like 10 years from now, it's going to be there. There's no surprise. The gold isn't going to like morph into a ring or something like that, right? It's just going to stay an ounce of gold. That's the point of money. That's the way that I see it. With investing, let's say with altcoins, I mean, I wouldn't even say that they're an altcoin, but over time, these altcoins can change. They can have different, like let's say Ethereum, for example, they had this one way of doing things, the merge, the surge, the purge, whatever it was. Do you remember that?
The merge, the surge, the purge.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they had that before. It was like their motto, and then they changed it to something else, and then they changed it to something else, and they're going to keep changing it. They're going to keep making it so that before Ethereum was proof of work, now it's proof of stake.
Yeah,
They
like
said that
that's
because it's proof of.
ever since that
They
move,
said
that because that was at least
yes,
close to Bitcoin trying to copy its protocol. The moment they switch from
yeah,
that, oh man, the downfall has been insane because that's just acknowledging
it broke it apart.
we failed as Bitcoin. We're going to try this other thing, proof of stake. So big bag holders get a huge interest rate. So it's very fiat system, and
Yeah.
yeah, its price has never
Yeah,
recovered.
and over time, it was supposed to be deflationary, but the supply has now started increasing. So it completely broke, and you don't know what's going to happen with any other coin. Other coins have creators. Have you seen Cardano's
Yeah, well, I
guy?
was
He
going to
was
mention this. I used to hold 20,000 Cardano tokens. So I was
wow.
big. So my whole journey, we can't get into that now, but maybe another time. Basically, I was buying different cryptos and I found Cardano as one of my strongest, biggest bags purely because its price didn't drop as ridiculously as everything else. It still got absolutely fried. And I would watch Charles Hockinson. I would follow all these people talking about it. Its price is about to go to $10. It's about to do this. It's about to do that. And you'd hear so many narratives like, oh, Cardano's building wells in Africa. And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything that I'm investing in? Like, what is going on? And then he's now acknowledging, hey, we're going to sell some of our Cardano tokens to buy Bitcoin. And I was like, I'm so glad I
Yeah.
left that whole thing, because that is just a sinking ship. Like, people are realizing these people just need to raise funds for whatever they want to invest in, whatever they want to buy, or just as money. And the only people selling these huge, huge bags are the creators. And so I find it funny with XRP. The biggest seller of XRP is Ripple Labs, which is XRP's
Yeah.
CEO and company. And so if they don't even want to hold their own product or coin or whatever, then it's worthless. Like, stop putting value, stop pumping these people's bags. Like, I don't have to pump Satoshi's bags when I buy Bitcoin. It's literally a store of value, cap supply. And yeah, it's just been a huge awakening comparing it to altcoins and crypto, because ever since I swapped to Bitcoin only, like, not just my own mental state's improved, but knowing where things are heading, things are predictable. It's math. It's, you can ride the dips knowing that, hey, this is a good new price. Whereas when I watched Cardano drop from, it was in Australia like $4.15 or something to 28 or 30 cents or something. For a while there, I was like, buy the dip, buy the dip. And it's just never recovered. Like, it maybe reached like 90 cents or a dollar. But if you're not timing the market, you're just getting absolutely wrecked. It's not no long-term store of value. It really is just like meme coins, speculative gambling. It's like, yeah, it's just insanity, guys. Like, if you want to gamble,
Yeah.
go do it, but you have to separate crypto and Bitcoin, completely different things. I hate when people say, how's your crypto Bitcoin doing? It's just like, oh man, it's like there's Bitcoin and there's crypto. I know you're merging these two, Cardano and Bitcoin, are similar things. And I'm like, they just are not. Like, everything has tried to be Bitcoin and failed. So there is only one Bitcoin.
I find it really funny when people say, "Oh, which Bitcoin are you buying?"
Oh,
There's only
there's
one.
one Bitcoin, man.
There's only one.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
have you heard of XRP? And it's just like, oh, far out. I can't handle these conversations anymore. Like, it's an absolute scam.
Yeah.
Insanity. Just before we go, I want two more questions because I know you got to go. Should people be smash buying today with extra cash? This is people with high
Absolutely.
conviction, or DCA, dollar cost average, like today.
Easy question. If you have cash, just smash buy. Because over 4 years, the price is going to go up. If you DCA, you risk not being in. Like, let's say, for example, you have $100,000 and you want to put $1,000 in every week. In 2 years, you might get way less Bitcoin than you can get today for $100,000. Today, you can get Today you can get like 0.95 Bitcoin or something like that. In 2 years, maybe you'll get 0.5 Bitcoin. If Bitcoin's price triples, quadruples, you're in a much more difficult position.
Yeah, I think DCA just reduces your profit. Obviously, it can take a lot of the
Yeah.
risk out, but obviously, without risk, there's less profit. And
Yes.
so I saw it.
DCA works in case you don't have, like, if you're not a seasoned investor, where
Yeah.
let's say the price drops, you're not going to see your entire portfolio decrease, and then you can buy more. But it doesn't work if the price goes up. In that case, you're hurt.
Yeah, I saw like a stat that was like minimum 4 year hold, you're DCAing every week. There's never been a 4 year period in time where if you're DCAing, you've lost. So if you're DCAing for 4 years minimum, yes, you're going to be profitable,
Yeah.
but it's so small compared to someone that is smash buying, not just at the top, but maybe you smash bought at the top, it's trickled down. He smash bought at the bottom, then it's ridden back up, smash all-time highs. Therefore, anything he bought below all-time high, he's profitable. And so his profitable margin is a lot higher than someone that is DCA. So just understand, yes, DCA removes a lot of the risk, but also removes a lot of the profit. You have to look into that yourself because we can't direct you what to do with your funds. But
Yeah.
I do like that
Exactly. Yeah.
advice. And last question, what price do you think Bitcoin could reach this year or even going into next year? So I'm talking 2025, 2026. What's something bullish, bearish? Like, what, maybe do you have two metrics? What do you think is possible?
Honestly, it could go to millions of dollars, or it could just go sideways, right? Nobody really knows. It could even go lower than where it is today, right? For all we know, by the end of this year, maybe it's at 50K.
Guys,
Anything
yeah,
could literally happen, right? Like,
everyone.
anything could happen.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
going
go
to
ahead.
say, if it dips, me and Rajat right
Yeah.
now are celebrating. We are trying to get as much
Yes.
as possible. If it stays sideways, we're celebrating too. As soon as it goes
Yeah.
up, it's going to feel awesome. There's going to be a pretty like victory high five. but also it means every time we're trading our dollars for Bitcoin, we are getting less and less and less. And so if you think Bitcoin where it's headed, you understand I'm going to have less and less in the future if its price runs away from me. So it's really interesting because you can celebrate on both ends. If it drops, yes, I can get more Satoshis for my dollars and you can stack harder. But then also as its price rise up, it feels pretty cool to have a lot more purchasing power, get a taste of
Yeah,
everything getting cheaper around you. And so either way, with holding Bitcoin, it's a win-win. Price down, you feel happy. Price up, feel happy. But
exactly.
any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
Honestly, just stack Bitcoin. Eventually, you'll have ways to use it. Bitcoin loans are going to get better over time. I think right now we have like 13, 14% interest rates. Eventually, it'll be 4 or 5%. It'll definitely drop to uh, low double digits, then it'll drop to low single digits because Bitcoin is better collateral than everything else. The only thing that you can do right now, though, is stack Bitcoin. That's it. Just stack Bitcoin. You have to understand what Bitcoin is to do that. I get it. People are too worried to buy Bitcoin because they don't quite understand it, and that's perfectly fine. But just start. It doesn't matter if you understand everything. Even for me, for example, I'm learning something new every single day. Right? There's always something new that I'm learning about Bitcoin that I haven't thought of before. There's a perspective that I haven't seen something from before. So don't wait. Just stack Bitcoin. Doesn't matter how much wealth you have. Even if you have $10, just buy Bitcoin, leave it on an exchange. Eventually, that $10 will be worth 20, then 40, then 80. It'll keep increasing. So just keep it simple. Stack Bitcoin, buy whenever you can. That's it.
That's awesome, man. Where can people find you? I know you're on YouTube, but do you have a Twitter handle that's different to YouTube or same sort of thing?
It's almost the same thing. If you just search for Rajatsoni on both, I'll probably be one of the top search results.
Rajat has been
Twitter,
he has
Instagram.
been popping off lately. So if you search up Rajat anywhere, it's just gonna come up because yeah, his channel's exploding, and there's a reason for that. He does a lot of cool Bitcoin education, helps people onboard into exchanges, wallets, everything helps people. So go check him out. I'm pretty sure most of my viewers have probably come over from your channel, so no
Wow.
need to give them too much information, but. Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. It's been really awesome. Hope we can do this again. I love your insights, your concepts. I'm constantly listening to your videos as I have a coffee before work in the morning, and it's cool to finally speak to you. So, cheers for coming on.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me, man. These conversations are always great. I love having them. It's always uh it's always fun to have a conversation with Bitcoiners because you just start off knowing that you can talk to them.
Yeah, it's good not to feel alone anymore. Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let's get some traction on this video, and yeah, check out Rajat. Cheers, Rajat.